Macon, how are you, sir?
Good, Junior. Nice to meet you. How are you?
You, brother, I had a blast with this movie. Um, I have to show you, I'm wearing a Toxic Avenger
Fuck
shirt.
yeah. Look at
So,
that.
it's Toxic Crusaders. That's my cartoon, brother, when I was growing up. So,
Okay. Well, we definitely you can see the design came from
yeah.
in large part, so that's good.
No, and I missed, it was so funny because I know this released 2 years ago at Fantastic Fest, and there was actually a screening here in LA. Um,
Beyond Fest. Yeah.
Yeah, it's at Beyond Fest, and it was a surprise. And I remember I had friends that went, and they were texting me afterwards, they're like, "You are not going to believe this effing movie." So excited, and then 2 years later, finally, we're getting it. And I have to ask you, it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
Are you finally excited that the world can experience Toxie?
I am delighted. The 2 years was sort of like a nail biter for me because I didn't know where it was going to go, but then that turned out to be the best thing that could have happened for the movie because in that passage of time, I feel like Cineverse, I don't know this for sure, but I feel like Cineverse had this success with Terrifier, and then it sort of like put them in this great position to take on Toxie, which is sort of not, it's not like a mainstream release, and they're able to maximize that. And the fact that it gets to be in theaters, to your point, I think is the best thing because I just feel like it's the kind of movie that is going to play better with a rowdy, crowded house, on a big screen. So yeah, I'm delighted. And if waiting that period of time in order to wind up here was what you got to do, I'm very happy to do that.
Yeah. This, like you were saying, this is the perfect movie. This is a perfect midnight movie, right?
Right.
Where you can see this with a rowdy crowd. I
Yeah.
can see it's just like the Rocky Horror kind of like, group, you know what I mean? And it'll just be showing, I think, like months after it releases. And that's why when I'm watching this, I'm like, I need more movies like this because there just isn't good old like trauma movies like they were back in the 80s. And this gave me like so many like tidbits that I remember, especially growing up with movies like that. And brother, I commend you. It was such a fun, just wild, bonkers movie, and I loved it. So
Thank you.
yeah,
That's exactly the midnight movie Rocky. I mean, like you can look at Elijah's character. That's fucking riffraff,
yes.
obviously. And
It
so
was
it's
Riff Raff and the Penguin. I got a
That's
little
exactly what it is. That no, no, no. I'm not kidding. Like with the costume design or the character designers, the artists, I gave them an image of Riff Raff. I gave them an image of Danny DeVito as the Penguin, and I was like, let's do something with this. I mean, that's obvious. And so that was definitely the type of vibe that we were trying to capture. And I think like, people getting together and for me, the best possible version would be people watching this movie at midnight, talking back to the screen and not texting, but just
yeah, of
interacting.
course. Now I gotta know, when I know Legendary came to you. That's what I read, right?
That's right.
And how long did it take you to like think of an idea of like how you'd want your version of Toxic Avenger to be?
The As far as the story goes, maybe that took a couple of months. The initial concept was very fast, and I actually was kind of like, this is probably not what they want. I hadn't worked with them before,
Yeah.
and I didn't know. And honestly, my first reaction was kind of to like pass on it because I felt like the original was so it was it it lasted and endured for so long because of what it was, and I kind of felt like I was worried that like a bigger studio would probably want, and it turns out I was wrong.
Yeah.
But at the time, I thought they're gonna want something that's like PG-13, or maybe they're gonna want something that's kind of in the Christopher Nolan zone where it's grounded and serious and gritty. And I was kind of like, it's probably, you know, this is probably not what they're not going to like what I'm about to say. But I was like, all right, hell with it. We'll just see what happens. And I just went in and I was like, look, man, it should be really silly, like borderline stupid. It should be very sweet. It should be a guy in a suit, no CG. and it should be rated R and be really gross. And I kind of waited for them to be like, nah, thanks for coming in. But instead, they were like, that's exactly what we want. And I was like, oh shit, now I've let the cat out of the bag. And so it sort of developed from there. But the initial thing was not a story. It was just a vibe. And I felt like trying to preserve the feeling of watching the original Toxic Avenger, which to your point was for me in sixth grade watching that movie being like, this is insane. What are they doing? And so funny and so sweet, but just like this is bonkers. Wanting to sort of have that feeling carried over to this one was the important thing for me. So
Well, I have to ask you, did you collaborate at all with Lloyd Kaufman on this? Did he?
we, I met him during the writing process. He was so, and Michael,
Yeah.
from Trauma, they were so supportive. They went out of their way to be like, go do your thing. And like, we're just here for support. Just really kind and sweet and supportive. And very early on, I was like, I don't know exactly how this is going to work, but I know we need to have a cameo in the movie of Lloyd, where Lloyd is some
Yeah.
way or another, he needs to specifically tell me to shut the fuck up. And I didn't know what it was, but like I knew that needed to be the scene. And so I ended up sort of like putting me in the movie so that I could come back at the end so that Lloyd could tell me to shut up. Um, and so he got to come out to the set in Bulgaria where we shot, and I feel like that was fun and exciting for him to kind of see the new version, the new sets, and see the new makeup and stuff like that. But they've been, nothing but supportive and awesome the whole way.
Who was the hardest actor to get for the film? Because come on, bro, Kevin Bacon looks like he's having so much fun in this role. And like the suit, I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but what happens? I'm
Yeah.
like, he went all out.
Yeah. Kevin Bacon it was so fun because you never know how people are going to respond or whatever, but obviously he's an institution. He's like a bona fide like American movie star, of which I think there are increasingly few, but he's one of them. And I just had this feeling that like I think he's very funny, and I think a lot of times at least lately, I think people associate him more with like dramatic stuff, but I just think he's very funny. And so we sent him the script, and I said, look, if you want to do this, I would be encouraging you to just go really big and gonzo and cartoonish with it, and basically just have a lot of fun. And we can always walk it back, like don't worry, but like I want you to feel like we can sort of rock and roll. And he wrote back like a day later and was like, I'm in. Like it was a very, very quick, like I was kind of thinking like either he's gonna pass or we're gonna have to like have a lot of conversations where I kind of walk him through what we're doing. But he very quickly was like, yeah, I want to do this.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
which was just like a lot of fun. And to your point, like just sort of letting him sort of go in this very like over the top character was a lot of fun to see. There's a lot of takes where we would just sort of let them do what they wanted, and there's a lot of laughter behind the camera sort of watching him go. So that was great. He was a big victory for us to get.
Yeah, it seemed like he was channeling his Tremors Kevin Bacon himself, right? Like he hadn't been in a film like this in a while, and he was just having a blast with it.
Yeah, he seemed like he was. I mean, my feeling was like, if we can, to the extent that it's in our control, if we can foster an environment on set where where it's kind of fun and there's kind of no wrong answers, and just sort of like it's obviously very cartoonish from just the costumes and the sets and the dialogue that you're saying. It's obviously very silly, and so just have fun with that and kind of go wild, and then we will shape it as we go. Then I think that sort of, if that is joyful on set, that will translate to what people are seeing on the screen. And so just I felt like the best I could do was make the environment on set playful and ridiculous and fun, and trust that that will wind up in the finished product, and people will have a good time watching that.
No, what I loved about it was your choices of colors for the film.
Hmm.
It's so much, it's the opposite of the original Toxic. Toxic was like, gloomier, darker colors. This bro had so many bright colors.
Hmm.
Loved my favorite sequence was when Mason gets thrown into the toxic stuff. It reminded me of Jimmy Stewart's nightmare scene from Vertigo.
That's what, dude. Absolutely.
That's literally what I was thinking. I was like, this is incredible. Like I could use that as a screensaver and just have Peter's face like whoa, looking wild and all the different little animation things going on. It was so fun. Like,
Yeah.
were those kind of your ideas of what you wanted to put in the film?
The transformation sequence was another one where I was kind of like they did such a great job with like the goopy version of the transformation in the first one that I kind of deliberately wanted to go in the other direction and make it more sort of dream sequency. So Vertigo for sure, Spellbound, the tornado sequence in Wizard of Oz, all that kind of like, you know, old kind vaguely clunky compositing rear projection type stuff was definitely what we were talking about to kind of make it feel kind of um more psychedelic as opposed to goopy. So but Vertigo was definitely the main one that we talked about a lot. And as far as the colors goes, yeah, we that's a lot of what the designer Alex Cameron brought to it. That's a lot of what the cinematographer Dana Gonzalez brought to it. Also the costumer Vanessa Porter, but sort of incorporating a poppy, colorful palette. And what we talked about a lot was sort of creating this universe that was sort of the real world, but not exactly. It's like a few degrees off from the real world, and it feels decaying and strange and weird, but not depressing.
Yeah.
We kind of wanted it to feel like a place where it would be fun to hang out, and so that sort of general idea found its way into a lot of the design choices, whether it was clothes or signs on the shops or just the way the lights are. We wanted it to have that kind of poppy feeling.
Last question, the design. Did you always have that like image of how you want Toxie to look now? And how difficult was it for Peter to get into that suit every day? Was it hours? Because, bro, I love that. Just the little intricate things where you just see like the head just like popping up and down every now and then. You see
Yeah.
like just a little bit of blue blood come out here and there. And like it was so intricate. And I just kept like, I have to ask him, like, how, like, what was that process like?
Well, I'll tell. We went through a bunch of different design choices, and we kind of started out with a version that was much closer to how the original looked, and then it felt like we're just kind of doing the original again, and we kind of went in some other directions. And what we ultimately arrived at was wanting to have a face where you could see the human version in the makeup design, where the features of whoever the actor was would be visible in the makeup. And when we cast Peter Dinklage, we sort of took inspiration from how his face looked and sort of incorporated that into the design. We had a great makeup company called Millennium FX out of London that did it, and it had a lot of motors and remote control things here to sort of add some life. So it wasn't just prosthetics, but it was also some movement based stuff. However, that was actually a performer named Luisa Guerrero
What?
in the suit.
Okay.
What we did was Peter performed the whole movie on videotape as Toxie, but as him on a stage space. So he ran around, he picked up the mop, he did all the monologues, he did the whole movie on video, making all the choices. Louisa came in, studied his performances to a fucking T, and then she showed up on set in the suit but doing everything that Peter did. So then there was people that like this literally happened where there were some people that didn't understand that and they were on set and they were like, "Wow, Peter's really good." And I was like, "Actually, that's not Peter." But her sort of like mannerisms were such that like it was derived from him. And then Peter came back and put his voice over her performance.
Wow.
So we were editing Toxie and we were editing the movie, and Toxie's voice was this high-pitched female British accent voice where I'm kind of like getting used to like that's how Toxie sounds. And then all of a sudden Peter's voice came back in. And so it was this like, you know, handshake dual performance thing that they both kind of collaborated on. And the hope is, and this is why I was so delighted to hear you say that, is that nobody would know the difference.
I did not know that. I thought it was him.
Yep.
Even from like the running. I was like, oh, that's Peter. Like
Yeah.
that was,
That's what
that was
I mean,
insane.
she really were, and Peter did a great job with sort of laying this framework and playing Winston, and then Louisa really studied his choices. So she was like, okay, this is how Peter picks up the
Wow.
and this when he goes like this with the mop, that's what Peter did like 3 weeks earlier on videotape.
Yeah.
So
All right, and then my last thing. I know you kept the toxic pigeon, right? Because that was probably the cutest thing.
the actual, you know what? I wish I had. I don't. That's our FX guy was named Lucy, and he built that, and I think he has it in probably his workshop in Bulgaria somewhere, but I don't have it. It had like a bunch of it's like steel rods coming out
Yeah.
painted out later, but it was a fun little puppet to have on set. Every time he came on, everybody was sort of like watching to see what the bird was going to do. He had a lot of personality.
Well, I know you guys are going to Comic-Con, so tell them to send it over, and you
Yeah,
guys
we should put that on the panel. You're right.
yeah, put it on the panel.
Yeah.
Well, Macon, thank you so much, man. I can't wait for everyone to see this film.
Thank you.
I know it's the summer of superheroes. We got Superman, Fantastic Four, but Toxie is the superhero that we need right now, especially in this time that we're living in.
Oh, brother, tell me
You,
about it.
you know what I'm talking about.
I know
So
what you're talking about.
he's the perfect this hero that we need, and I can't wait for like everyone to see it. And I'm glad it's unrated because
Yeah.
that's the way to watch this film. It is bonkers, and man, I had fun with this. So thank you for that.
Thank you. That was exactly what I was hoping was just like give people a laugh. That was the goal. And if that's what we did, then that makes me feel very good. So thank you for saying so.
Of course. Well, thank you for your time, and can't wait for everyone to see it. And thank you.
Thanks.
Can't wait.
Thank you, Junior. If I see you around at a festival or something, please say hi.
I think Comic-Con, we might cross paths.
You're gonna
So
be there?
I'll be there.
All
I'm
right.
trying to get everyone to come to our suite. So maybe talk to you guys there.
That sounds good. Well, if you see me, please say hi, and I'll hope to see you.
Well, thanks, Megan.
All right, brother. Take care.
Yeah.